Hi, I'm Aaron. I used to teach chemistry. I'm going to teach you about points, redemptions, credit cards, and where to start. And I've had a lot of people ask me about points. So I help people with points, with booking, finding the right cards, all those types of things. And people often don't really know where to start or kind of what all this means. So I wanted to make kind of an intro video to give people a framework about where to go with this. I found that there's a lot of videos out there that are either very simple and not terribly helpful, or very complicated and thus also not terribly helpful. So we're going to cover four things in this video, four main things. The first, what are points? How do I earn them? What are the best cards? And how do I spend them? So these are going to be the four things that we're going to cover in this short video. So the first thing we want to look at is, what are points? So points are a currency with value. Points are no different than dollars or euros or pounds, right? These are no different. They have a value and they would correspond to a dollar value depending on how they're spent. That's the first thing here. Points are a currency with value. And the second thing is that they can be transferred or they can be spent in various ways. So with the points that you earn or the points that you have, you can transfer or you can spend them. And ideally you're transferring to spend them elsewhere. Points can be transferred or spent. Points are going to vary in value dramatically. So like, let's say I were to exchange dollars for euros or dollars for pounds. Depending on where I go, I'm not going to get that much different of an exchange. With points, you're going to see a very big difference. So let's say that you have 50,000 points. I have seen point redemptions can sometimes be as low as 0.7 cents per point. Now, cents per point, CPP, this is just a way of expressing the value of a point. So if you had 1 cent per point, then each point is worth 1 cent. So in this particular context, each point is worth 7/10 of 1 penny. Now this I've seen go all the way up to about 12 cents per point. So if I have 50,000 points, and I multiply this by 0.007, then my 50,000 points redeemed at 7 cents per point at this exchange are going to be worth $350. So for the same 50,000 points, if I find a way to redeem those for 12 cents a point, now my points are worth $6,000. So we have to ask ourselves, do we want our 50,000 points to be worth $350? Or do we want our 50,000 points to be worth $6,000? And we'll go over this in the section about how to spend. The number one most important thing to remember if you're going to get into this points world where you are using credit cards and earning points that way, the number one thing, absolutely number one before anything else, you must pay your balance off each month. These cards have high interest rates. And if you get behind and spend beyond your means, you will get steamrolled with interest. And then you'll end up paying for everyone else's redemptions because you're absolutely drowning in interest. So only spend what you can afford. So only figure out how much you make in a month and then spend that. And make sure your balance is paid in full every month. So pay your balance in full every month, no exceptions. Going beyond that is going to lead to a lot of problems that you really just don't want to have. If you have multiple cards, I will say one thing that helps with organization is your closing date. So you want to call your credit card company and change the closing date on every card to the first of the month, and if it's Amex, it has to be the second. And what this means is that all your cards will be due around the same time, somewhere between the 23rd and 25th, something like that. And this also lets you know that everything that you spend in November is due in December at the end of the month. So this really helps a lot with organization, which is key if you're going to have multiple cards. But again, like I said, the number one thing that you absolutely must do is pay your balance each month in full. No exceptions. If you don't think you can do this, then if you don't think you can pay your balance in full every month, then probably don't do this and just keep using cash until you get to the point where you're able to do that. But that's the number one goal. Pay your balance each month in full, no exceptions. So the next question we want to address is, how do I earn? So this is the second part of this. There are three main ways to earn. There's other ways too, but the three main ways are from flying. So flying is going to earn you miles for whatever airline you're flying on. So points can be converted to miles, but miles cannot be converted to points. So they do not go in both directions. So you'll earn a certain amount of miles. Some airlines you earn what you fly, and some are a multiplier of how much you spent versus what you fly. So flying is one way to earn miles. The second way, and most effective way to earn points, is bonuses. And these are credit card bonuses. So what this means is, let's say you apply for the Amex Platinum card. It's going to say that you can earn 100,000 points if you spend X thousand dollars in the first 6 months or whatever it is. It varies. But essentially, you get these big chunks of points if you spend a certain amount of money in a certain time frame. So this is the best way to accumulate points. And this phenomenon or practice is called churning. And this, you'll find that most people that are really into this are churning cards. So they'll open one card, they'll get the bonus, and then they'll open the next card, they'll get that bonus, and they'll just continue this forever and accumulate as many points as possible. The third way is going to be maximizing your everyday spend. So this is really maximizing. And what I mean by that, so let's say you go out to dinner and you spend $100. If you use one particular card, maybe you only get 100 points. But if you use another card, maybe you get 400 points. So the idea is to have the cards where you're always getting the most amount of points. You want to avoid spending your dinner on the card that only gives you 100 points. You really want the one that's going to give you the maximum multiplier. And you're going to want to hit this maximizing for each category and where you spend your money. And this is why it varies per person. So again, major ways to earn your points: flying, and if you don't fly, that's fine. You can earn them with the cards. Bonuses, that's your big sign-up bonuses, and then maximizing your everyday spend. Another common question, and the third thing that we're going to cover here, is what is the best card? And I get this question a lot, and it's really hard to answer, so I'll kind of try and avoid giving you the lazy answer of just saying it's hard to answer and give you something useful. So it really depends on what you spend your money on. If you never go out to eat, then a certain card might not be useful for you. But I'll give you an idea of what I use and where I think most people would make a lot of sense. So the best card, where do you start? Here's a few. So Amex Gold is very helpful, right? So the Amex Gold is going to give you 4x on groceries and restaurants. So this is what I was saying earlier, where, you know, if you spend $100 at the grocery store or you spend $100 at a restaurant, you're going to get 400 points instead of just 100 that you might get on another card. So let's say you're a type of person that spends $500 a month on groceries and dining. So 500 times 12, that's $6,000 that you're spending a year. And if you're multiplying that by 4, that's giving you 24,000 points a year. And that's only on stuff that you're already buying anyway. So the Amex Gold, again, if you spend a decent amount of money on groceries or restaurants, it really makes a lot of sense. Another card that's very useful is the Chase Preferred or Reserve. So whether it's Preferred or Reserve. And you're going to get 2x or 3x on travel and dining. So anything you spend on travel, you're going to multiply those. Now you obviously don't need, you wouldn't use this for dining if you had this one, but if you didn't, then you could use this and that would be fine. One I would say for sure is Amex Platinum. So Amex Platinum is going to give you 5x on flights. It's also going to give you access to the Centurion Lounge and some other lounges. So, and I'll explain later why that's important. So the value of the Amex Platinum, so a thing that I hear a lot about people saying the Amex Platinum is the annual fee is $695, which sounds like a lot if it had no extra value. So you'll often find a card without an annual fee is not going to have a lot of value. It's not really going to do much for you. So $695 sounds like a lot. So built into the Amex Platinum are a lot of features that are really, really helpful. So for example, Amex Platinum has a $179 credit with Clear. So if you fly a decent amount, you'll find that Clear helps you move through security. Now it's not pre-check, that's something different, but you can combine the both of them for the quickest experience through the airport. So I find a lot of value in Clear. You're also going to get a $200 or $240 entertainment credit. So this $240 entertainment credit is used for Hulu, HBO, and I think Disney, something like that. It ends up being about $22 a month, and the card covers 20 of it. So that has a value of $240. You're also going to have $200 of Uber credit. So if you really use Ubers, this is really, this is a no-brainer. So this is going to give you $15 a month for Uber credit, and then $35, so it's $15 a month, and then it's going to be $35 per month, or in the month of December. And then the other one is $200 airline credit. So this you can use for a checked bag, or if you're buying drinks on the plane or something like that. There's also ways, kind of sneaky ways around using this to actually help pay for your flights. That's a little more challenging, and that's something we could cover later. But just so you know, this value here is $819, which, as you can see, exceeds the annual fee by $124. And that doesn't even count the value that you get from using this at a lounge. So lounge access, for example, you can get into a Centurion Lounge, which are available at some airports, and you can also get into the Delta Sky Club when you're flying Delta, where the drinks are free and the food's free. So if you think about each time you travel, if you're paying for drinks, an airport beer, let's say you're paying for an airport beer, which is what, $15? So if you're paying each time, that's going to add up tremendously, and this can save you a ton of money doing this. So if you're flying even a very medium amount, the Amex Platinum, I think, is absolutely one of the best cards that you can have. So these are just 3 cards. I use, a little bit more than this to try and maximize everything. And again, that's more cards is something we could discuss at a different point. But this just gives you an idea of how, depending on what you're spending, it will vary. The Amex Blue Business gives you 2x on everything. The Citi Double Cash gives you 2x on everything. So those are a couple other useful cards to use as well. All right, now the last segment of this video is how to spend points. And as I alluded to earlier, the distance in how much the points are worth is quite a lot. So there's a lot of different ways to spend your points, and ultimately it is up to you. I personally only spend my points on international business class. And that is because that experience is not something I would ever pay for out of pocket, because it is extremely expensive to pay for with cash or with your card or whatever. And it really takes the worst part of your trip, which is a 9-10 hour flight, and makes it one of the most exciting. Again, I always very look forward to it, and it's almost sad when they end. It actually is very sad when they end. So a lot of different ways to spend your points. So for this example, we're going to use 50,000 points. Now, I was talking to someone not long ago and I realized that they didn't have any points because they got their stuff for free on Amazon all the time. I was sad to hear this, and I'll explain what they've done. So if you have 50,000 points and you spend them on Amazon, they're worth 0.7 cents per point. So I said cents per point earlier. So if you spend on Amazon, you're at 0.7 cents per point. So 50,000 times 0.007 equals $350. That means your points that you've exchanged 50,000 points for $350 in value of something, whatever that person bought on Amazon. So let's say they bought an Apple Watch. They would have spent 50,000 points on a new Apple Watch or something like that, whatever. If you book through, so American Express you can book through their website, you can book through Chase's website, and they'll give you a little bit higher of a value. So that's generally around 1.25 cents per point. So if we take those same 50,000 points and we multiply that by 0.0125, now we've found that our 50,000 points are worth $625. Okay, that's a little bit better. It's certainly better than this. So we've exchanged 50,000 points for $625 of value of whatever that might be through the portal, through the website. Now, I've seen Hyatt is usually a really good place to redeem points. I've seen it could be as low as 1.5. 2 is pretty common, and I've seen it up to 4. So let's use 4 cents per point, for example, which I have seen before, and it does happen. So 50,000, let's say I got 50,000 in points, and I transfer them to Hyatt, and I multiply this by 0.04, well, now these points are worth $2,000. And at this point, you have to ask yourself, why would you ever do this when they could be worth $2,000? Unless if you're points rich and you have infinite points, then I guess it doesn't matter. But if you're not points rich and you're trying to maximize your value, this here makes no sense at all. Now, let's say you want to do one of those international business trips. Now, those do range dramatically from 5 to maybe 12, but I've seen it as high as 12. So let's say we're going to do 12 cents per point, and we have 50,000 points. And we multiply that by 0.12. Now, our points are worth $6,000. And this is, aside from the fact that the international business flight experience completely alters the course of a trip, it's also the best value. Now, it's important to note with this range of this, now this is actually, the Hyatt is pretty simple to book. It's not easy to find 4. You generally might find 2, 2.5. But this is going to be your easiest method here. So you probably have noticed on Amazon's website when you're checking out, you just click the box and it burns all your points for you. Super simple. They'll gladly take your points at almost no value. This here is going to be very difficult. This one is not fun to do and often takes a lot of legwork, but it has the most value. So easy, difficult, low value, high value, and this is basically what we're looking at in terms of how we spend points. So the 4 main things that we covered in this video are what are points, and they're basically your currency, the value. How do I earn them? Again, flying, big bonuses, everyday spending. What are the best cards? Now again, there's a lot of options, and I kind of broke down the Amex Platinum for you and the value behind that. And then how do I spend? And we really looked at what is a good value, what is a bad value, and what is that range in difficulty. So I'm happy to make more videos about this if people have specific questions. But these are kind of the main things, sort of intro video, get you started and kind of get you thinking about getting into this.